Hello, everybody. My name is Zoro Chaos, and welcome to the table. I have some background music for this last video, considering I figured it was fitting. Anyway, today we're going to cover Transportation and Cavalry. Why am I doing this video? Well, I barely use Transportation and Cavalry in my games at all. I figured most people ignore this part regardless, so I think this might be a pretty decent video and could be possibly popular. Who knows? Anyway, let's get into it. Control roles. When riding animals or driving vehicles, you have to concern yourself with keeping control. Whenever you attempt a maneuver, you must make a control check to keep your transportation under control. Ref stat, ride skill, control mod, and plus 10. 1d10. The control check must beat a DC appropriate to whatever maneuver you are trying to accomplish. Simple is at 15. Swerve a vehicle or jump a low obstacle on a horse. Difficult, DC 20. Control a skidding vehicle or make an abrupt stop. Very difficult at 25. Jump a vehicle or leap a high obstacle on a horse. Control modifiers. Each mode of transportation has its own control modifier. Add the value from the control modifier table to your control rolls. So there's horse for +2, warhorse with a -2, a mule has a 0, ox with a -2, sailboat with a -2, sailing ship with a -1, cutter and car both at 0, and carriage with a -1. There's bareback penalty. When riding bareback without a saddle of any form, you are at a -2 to all control checks. Control loss. If you fail a control check, you risk losing control completely and having horrible things happen to you and your mount vehicle. If you're driving a vehicle, use the vehicle loss control loss table. If you are on a mount, something happens to both you and the mount. Roll twice on the mounted control loss table. Once for the riders and once for the mount to see what happens. Skaters, so if you get at least a 2, you skaters slew with no other results. Major skid, you slide 1d10 times 2 meters sideways in the direction of travel. If you hit an object, use the charging rules to see what damage is done to your vehicle and the object. Roll the vehicle. Your vehicle skids 1d10 times 3 meters sideways in the direction of travel and rolls. A land vehicle, you, the vehicle, and the animals pulling it take 5d6 damage. In a water vehicle, you have capsized and are trapped underwater until you make a DC 12 athletics check to swim out and up. Redanian Cavalry. Redanian Cavalry are our finest army units. They are trained rigorously, but this is not the only reason any cavalry of semi-competent riders, is dangerous. What is the most dangerous weapon in an army? The sword, the halberd, the trebuchet? Give me a horse any day. Your horse can kill your opponents simply by stepping on them and running into them, even in plate mail. One can use a horse and a weapon. Mounted on a horse, you are elevated and a moving target. Horses can make a hasty retreat. Well-trained riders can hang from one side of their saddle using their entire horse as cover. The rumbling and shaking of a line of well-trained cavalry has been known to seriously dishearten infantry. A well-barded horse is nearly unstoppable. Brandon of Oxenford. So, here's a mountain control losses. Getting out from under a horse. If your mount falls on top of you, you have 2 options. Let it come to and get off you naturally, or try to get out from under it. If someone can make a physic check with a DC of 25, so if they roll a 26 or higher, they can lift the horse off of you. Personal results. So 1 to 3 for both these tables. personal results are down here, and mount results are down here. You make 2 separate rolls for these. Remember that sometimes you can get thrown and your mount can just stumble. That can happen. Realistically, no, but that would be funny. Vehicle combat. You can make all the usual attacks from the back of a mount or on a vehicle. You can also draw or stow weapons, but there are a few things to keep in mind. Each time you attack, you must make a control check. Charging and ramming. When making a melee attack from the back of a mount or a vehicle, you are essentially charging. You could also ram your vehicle into something, but for a vehicle pulled by animals, that control check is at a -10. When charging, you must still roll to hit. Weapon skill if attacking from horseback, and riding or sailing if ramming. If you hit, you do either normal weapon damage or ramming damage, but you add damage to both based on the speed of the charge. To calculate this extra damage, divide the number of meters between you and your target by 2, rounded down and capped at 5. Add this number of d6s to your damage. If you are galloping on your horse, assuming your number is 5, then multiply this extra damage by the appropriate modifier on the weight modifier table. In the case of a ramming vehicle, the full damage is done to your vehicle as well as the tap target. So, number of meters. If you have a lot of debt, essentially you can do like 5d6 damage with charging or ramming. Vehicle damage. Each vehicle has health points, much like a mount or character. When the vehicle runs out of HP, it collapses and cannot move. The weight modifier is very light. Small box, necker, cat, half damage. Human size, times 1 damage. Medium, werewolf, cart, and Indriga, times 2. Heavy, Arrakis, troll, castle door, times 3. Ramming damage. Horse, 3d6. Warhorse, 4d6. Mule, 2d6. Ox, 4d6. Sailboat, 2d6. Sailing ship, 4d6. Cutter, 5d6. Cart, 3d6. And carriage, 4d6. Falling. Falling damage is calculated similarly to ramming damage. When you fall from a height, you divide the number of meters you fall by 2s and roll that many d6s to determine damage. Falling damage is done to the torso and it can be soaked by armor. If you collide with anything, that thing also takes the damage you suffer. You fall at a rate of approximately 30 meters per round. If you are near a ledge or something similar, you can make an athletics check, add a DC decided by the GM to grab the edge. If you succeed, you take damage equivalent to how far you have fallen to your arm. I believe that's also locational, so it does half damage, but it will hurt really bad. Though it's also blocked by armor, so there's that too. Alright, we're not going to go into example combat, because this is the end of the video. This is a very small transport video, considering I barely actually use this, but it's good to know. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope you had a good time. See you next time. Ta-ta and cheers.